Welcome to the Anime Podcast channel. My name is Benji, and Oda, get your rest, my guy. You're the GOAT for a reason. And yeah, I said it. He's the GOAT, the greatest of all time. But today, we'll be discussing chapter 1046 of One Piece, Raizo. And I know, Raizo doesn't necessarily sound like the most appealing chapter name because, it's Raizo. But trust me, my respect for the dopest big-headed ninja within One Piece has gone through the roof. But before we begin, let's go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Me and my friends Taj, Phil, and Nick make weekly podcast episodes on all your favorite anime and manga series. And don't forget to go ahead and join the Discord, one of the dopest communities ever to talk anything anime and manga related. But no more wasting your time, let's begin. So to start, we have a juicy cover page from the cover story of the Whole Cake Island incident aftermath. Ooh, I got that out. And this looks like two very prominent individuals who seem to be very terrifying have stepped foot within Whole Cake Island. But, to be honest, I have absolutely no clue who these guys are, but I do have a couple of educated guesses that I have. And this would be a great time for the Blackbeard pirates to actually set foot and invade Whole Cake Island, especially with the strongest person probably being there, only being Katakuri. Now, from the Blackbeard pirates, I don't necessarily think that Blackbeard is actually within this cover page because it looks like the feet definitely do not match. But if they're going to be anybody, I believe that it's going to be Shiryu, the swordsman of the Blackbeard pirates, and Van Agar. I hope I said that right. He's the sniper within the Blackbeard pirates. Now, this may just be wishful thinking, but I also think that this could possibly be Ichiji and Judge. And basically, they've come back to kind of fall full circle within rescuing Yanji and Niji from Whole Cake Island. But I'm not gonna lie, from the boots, it's very hard to tell, and I don't know until we get the next chapter, which probably we won't get, not next chapter, but the chapter after, because I believe there's a color spread next chapter, if I'm not mistaken. But moving on, we begin with the actual chapter with Luffy from last chapter. And last chapter, he basically punched through Kaido's face. I hope Oda explains that. But as of right now, Luffy is contemplating what he's going to name that attack. And he's doing this all while he has affected the ground around him with rubber and is using it like a trampoline. I love Luffy, man. I love him. But I definitely do want to see if Oda kind of goes into explaining how Luffy is able to kind of go through mass in some kind of capacity. Because it seems like there's two occasions that we saw from last chapter where Luffy is actually able to reach out of Kaido's eyeballs and as well as go through his face, where he's able to kind of basically just be translucent through any kind of mass. And I think that's very interesting. I don't necessarily know all of Luffy's abilities. I hope that Oda does go into a little bit of explanation with a couple of them. But it could just be Toon World stuff, so I'm not 100% sure. Or Toon Force stuff. But while this is happening, Kaido is actually curious. And he actually asks Luffy, who is this? Luffy has a surprised look on his face. And then we briefly cut to Zunisha. And it is confirmed that Luffy, in a way, gives off the same kind of aura or energy as the legendary Joy Boy during Zunisha's time. Which pretty much confirms that Luffy has autonomy over his body and he isn't possessed by anything. And it isn't some kind of, reincarnation thing. Naruto. Excuse me. But Luffy answers Kaido's question in the most Luffy way possible. And he says this. He says, "Who, me? I'm Monkey D. Luffy, the man who's going to surpass you and become king of the pirates." I love when Luffy says that, because he's speaking it into existence and he knows that he's the MC of the story. Let's go. But after this, Kaido says something very interesting that I'll kind of like to point out. He says this. "Glad to see you've still got that big mouth, Straw Hat. You call this an awakening. Your mind and body are fully able to harness the potential of your ability. And what a ridiculous power it is." And I believe from this panel alone that it does seem like Kaido has an awakening to be shown. So we about to get to the nitty gritty. But then Luffy and Kaido both kind of explain of how much this battle has taken from each of them. But Luffy makes sure that he tells Kaido that he's going to take everything back that Kaido has stolen, not only from his crew, but also the people of Wano. And then they both get to scrapping, but something soon bothers Luffy and he starts to cough. And is soon realized that a bunch of fumes from the smoke and the fire that's happening within the capital are rising up to the rooftop where the battle between Luffy and Kaido are. And basically, Kaido's making light of it. Basically, like thousands of men are going to roast alive. A pretty morbid realization, but you know, it's Kaido. But Luffy makes it known that he doesn't necessarily worry about the outcome of that's going to happen within the castle, because he entrusts his crew to go ahead and take care of it, the same way that they entrust him to go ahead and send Kaido flying. And then we're left off very briefly with Kaido actually throwing an attack at Luffy, and he uses his extendo legs to kind of just dodge it, and it goes between his legs in a hilarious panel. But this fight isn't over yet, and you'll see why. But now we get a bunch of briefings of basically every Straw Hat, as well as a couple other, fodder pirates. But basically we get a briefing of what's happening within all of the chaos that this fire from the fire yokai Kazimbo has created, which was summoned by Orochi and Kanjuro. Two bitch asses. But let's go ahead and catch up with every single panel that we see. So first we see Nami and Chopper, and both of them are pretty much worried whether or not all of the other Straw Hats have made it out safe and are alive. And Chopper actually uses the very smart idea to go ahead and ask Zeus if he can use his rain clouds in order to basically like sprinkle some water on the fire. And Zeus makes it known that, he ain't like that, He doesn't have the facilities for that, big man. We then see Beppo from the Heart Pirates, and boy is he useless. But I love Beppo. But basically polar bears and heat don't necessarily mix well, and he's basically tasked with having to basically be carried out by his crew, the Heart Pirates. Yeah. And he's basically become a liability at this point. So we then see Robin and Brook, and both of them are kind of in the same status as Nami and Chopper, really just kind of concerned about their crew and the livelihoods of the Alliance as well, because this fire is going completely out of control within this castle. We then see Sanji the GOAT, and basically it looks like he's completely fine, completely recovered. He looks a little skinny, but I digress. And basically it's kind of cute because he actually has a mouse on his shoulder, obviously alluding to his childhood when he did have a pet mouse. Kind of, going back to the Ratatouille stuff, but I digress. We then see Apu, and he's with a giant. I think he may be a number. I'm not 100% sure. But basically, he's trying to punch through this wall, and it's very hot, and he hurt his hand. And then Apu and him are about to scrap. It's some dumb shit. We then see Usopp using a technique basically to sprinkle water on all of the fire. Basically with one of his green stars. And, it doesn't work. But the fact of the matter is he's very determined to go ahead and save Kiku and Kinemon just like he promised. And then we see Frankie carrying Zoro. Now, if you guys do remember, Zoro was, after his battle with the Grim Reaper, was about to fall off of Onigashima when Frankie was just there in time to go ahead and catch him. Now, it looks like Zoro is in terrible shape, and I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say an absolute word. But I'll ask you guys. Is ZKK still happening? I'm just asking. Let me know. I want to know. I really do. But that was about it until we get to this part between Raizo and my boy Jinbei. Now, if you remember in the previous chapter, Raizo actually reiterated that Now, if you guys remember, Raizo actually reiterated that the preparations were almost complete, and we had absolutely no idea what he was talking about, yet in this chapter, we know exactly what he was mentioning. So since the time of Odin's castle being burned down to the ground, Raizo has made it a vow in order to never be unprepared, or at least never to let a castle burn down again. And with Raizo's ninjutsu, he has a plethora of techniques and abilities to use at his disposal. Yet in that very fateful battle 20 years ago, Raizo still feels like he's responsible for not saving anyone with any of these techniques. This is one of those things where it really raises my respect for Raizo as a character, honestly. And I'm gonna be honest, before, I'm not gonna lie, that fight was kind of trash. Let's not, let's keep it a bean. But if we're gonna be honest, my respect and just the resolve that Raizo has shown from even looking back 20 years ago to a battle that was decisive between Odin and Kaido, seeing now that, you know, he's taken that into account and promised himself never to be unprepared, I don't know, it's very upstanding, and you know, I really like this from Raizo. Now, I don't know necessarily, I think his stocks go up, you know, let me know in the comments if you think Raizo's stocks have gone up. But basically, when Raizo was actually able to witness Zunisha actually take a bath, he realized that there's an immense amount of water that basically goes overhead. And he wonders if he can actually control this, or at least conjure this out of one of his ninjutsus. And that is exactly what Raizo is able to do. The preparation that he was being set was able to actually hone this technique. And Raizo was able to conjure up a water elephant restoration technique. And basically, it just shoots out a huge, immense amount of water. That sounded really bad, but we ended off good. And this technique absolutely looks incredible. Now, I did mention that Jinbei was also within this plan. You know that Jinbei can control the flow of water. And in order to control this large flow of water that basically Raizo is shooting out, he directs it straight to Jinbei, who uses this technique. The Fishman Jutsu Ocean Current Shoulder Throw. That's a long name, but the effects of this attack is so dope. And basically, we just see Jinbei tossing the water, literally grabbing the water and throwing it at his will, basically water bending, if you may. And honestly, I can't wait to see this animated, because you know the flashback of Raizo kind of looking back on his time with the Odin's castle, and then just looking at Jinbei, you know, just being like, I'm ready, and just tossing the water. It's gonna be super dope. But yeah, with this technique, Jinbei is able to direct water into every single crevice of the castle of Onigashima. And we do actually catch up with one other person, Killer. We know that he's alive, and he's being carried out by his crew. But at the same time, he's kind of like, you know, yo, get off me, let me walk myself. I think he's okay. I don't necessarily think he's completely injured, but I think basically they're saying that they were going to take care of him. But this basically leads to the end of the chapter, and basically we get a little bit of discussion between Momo and Yamato. Now, basically they're both, you know, still kind of in a discrepancy about how they're going to create these flame clouds, because it's looking like Kaido is reaching his limit. Which is good, because this is the final stretch of the battle between Luffy and Kaido, especially after this last panel. But the thing that makes it so interesting is the fact that Momo, I thought he was already making them, but I think he was more so sustaining the flame clouds that Kaido was already making. So basically, at this point, he really needs to create his own flame clouds in order for Onigashima not to fall. Which is the last statement of the chapter. But I digress. But let's talk about this last panel. We see Luffy in the sky holding a lightning bolt straight above Kaido's head. And there's no way I know exactly what the fuck is happening. But the fact of the matter is, if Luffy is able to manipulate lightning in some kind of way, shape, or form, in some kind of capacity, you know, obviously I feel like this is a direct kin to a nail at some point. If you skip Skypiea, you did yourself a disservice, my boy. But the fact of the matter is, to see Luffy in the sky looking like an absolute god, looking like Zeus himself from God of War, being able to hold a lightning bolt directly under Kaido is a beautiful panel to end it off. And yeah, there is a break next week. Unfortunately, but like I said, Oda, go ahead and get your rest, my boy. But yeah, this chapter, obviously another 10 out of 10 chapter. Like I said, I love the stuff with Raizo really taking the resolve and making sure that he's never unprepared again. The fact of the matter is, he took that event 20 years ago and took it to heart and said that that will never ever happen again. Now, the fact of the matter is, that's very interesting, is the reason that Raizo actually went to Zou, was the reason for that simply to hone that technique? I'm not 100% sure. You know, if you guys can correct me, let me know in the comments down below. But like I said, the last panel and this stuff with Luffy, I'm so glad that Luffy has actually sustained autonomy over his body. He's conscious of the actions and the words that are coming out of his own mouth. This isn't Joy Boy. This isn't some kind of, you know, reincarnation, you know, shit. You know, it's all Luffy. This is Luffy. Especially when my boy was like, My boy was like, I'm going to surpass you and be the king of the pirates? Like, come on, bro. That didn't stick with you? That didn't stick with you? It stuck with me. Because that's my goal. My goal. But yeah, that's the chapter, man. I really enjoyed it. 15 out of 10 of chapter. Yeah, Oda just be coming with banger after banger after banger. But with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in to my chapter review. I love all of you guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought about this one. I didn't really go too much with a full breakdown, but I think this will suffice. But go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. My name is Benji, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.